All right, so we just spent our first night on the Cassiar Highway and found this little boondocking spot. So beautiful. This is
Dease Lake.
Dease Lake.
We stopped here because, I don't know, we saw Dease Lake everywhere on, like, I don't know, just like random buses. Like they named them like Dease Lake, and I just saw that word a bunch, and then we saw
a little boondocking spot, and we're
right
like,
on it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I think it's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's been
stunning.
Raining. It's starting to rain a little harder, but overall, like, just this beautiful lake view. Starlink was out over the lake, so we had plenty of internet service.
So what do you think? We're about halfway down the Cassiar Highway?
I would say a little, like a third.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we are taking like the little offshoot. We're gonna go to Stewart-Hyder today, which is like a border town between Alaska and Canada.
It'll be our last
Alaska city.
Yeah.
We're actually hoping to catch some bear viewing because the salmon has been so late this year. We just really haven't been able to go to these like really accessible salmon viewing spots to see bears. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll see a couple bears. And tomorrow's August 1st, so this is like super late for the season. Salmon like should be in all these viewing spots, and they're just kind of like starting to get there. I don't know. We'll take more time to rumble down the Cassiar Highway. We do have a few thoughts about it that we were talking about yesterday that we definitely want to share with you. Just a couple like tips or things to be aware of if you're going to take this way, either to or from Alaska. So yeah, we'll gather those thoughts and we'll share those soon. All right, so we gathered our thoughts, and here are a few things we want you to know about the Cassiar Highway.
Something that I've realized is I'm a little bit more nervous driving on this road than some of the other roads, and I realized it's because there's like no guardrails really at all. There's no painted lanes in the road, and then both sides of the road there's no shoulder. It kind of like drops off, and so I've just kind of felt a little bit more nervous while driving versus any of the other roads.
Yeah,
specifically the Alcan.
Really pay attention up here. So the other thing we noticed is there's very minimal services up here. So make sure that before you get on it, you're stocked up with food, stocked up with fuel, and everything you're gonna need. Just because, again, like you can get gas, you can get diesel, but it's few and far between. Whereas the Alcan, it just felt like, yes, of course there were big, long areas without fuel and stuff, but it was like big city to big city, and this is just like tiny little thing every once in a while.
Another thing we realized is we've had like no cell service almost the entire time we've been driving, and then you feel a lot more remote than the Alcan itself. We've also like seen a lot less people, so I feel like there's a lot more people on the Alcan, so you kind of feel safer in those remote stretches, where here it's like I could drive for like an hour and not see another person in either direction. That's kind of scary.
And so the last thing I'm going to add about this is, so we're going from north to south, and I feel like the north half just wasn't very pretty. So that really doesn't affect which route you take, but I just wanted to throw it out there. But now that we're getting into the southern half, it is stunning. After leaving Dease Lake, we continued south on the Cassiar Highway and hours later rolled into the tiny border town of Stewart in British Columbia. Stewart and Hyder are two border towns with a shared history rooted in mining and separated only by a street and a flag. Also, we found it interesting that Hyder is the only US town you can drive into from Canada without passing through US Customs. We stayed the night at Rainy Creek Campground in Stewart, then crossed into Hyder the next morning to visit the famous salmon viewing area. It's one of the best places to see bears fishing during the salmon run, if your timing is right. Alright guys, so we made it to Fish Creek where we got to see tons of salmon. So like they're here, which was really cool to see. No bears, unfortunately.
They're ready for the picking, so I don't know. Bears are kind of missing out on the opportunity.
Yeah, seriously, free lunch over here, guys. It's okay. We were talking on the way out, like we've had our fair share of bears with like the bear tour that we did. It was really cool to actually just experience like the salmon. So there were a ton. They're so mean to each other though.
Yeah, and this is our first time seeing a salmon run.
Yeah.
And so that was just worth the
10
trip.
bucks.
Yeah, the 10 bucks and the trip out here by itself.
If you're gonna come out here, one thing we already learned is that you have to buy your tickets online. You cannot buy them in person. And once you cross over from Stewart and get into Hyder, you lose cell service.
Yeah.
So we actually had to loop back, get service again, buy our online tickets, which are $5 each, but then they charge $1 each for like a service fee. So it was 12 bucks.
Yeah. We found out that we were able to like go out to like the dock-ish area in Hyder, so without crossing back into Canada, and we were able to pick up Canadian cell service. So that's how we were able to buy our tickets.
Buy your tickets, take screenshots of them on your phone just in case. Overall, cool experience. Obviously, without the bears, like it still was fine to me. Very much worth the 12 bucks.
Yeah, so this is the most accessible bear viewing in Alaska because it's literally right here by the road. And now I think it's time to go to the most accessible glacier by car in Alaska, and that is Salmon Glacier.
Yep. Tired of playing Guess That Smell in your RV? We certainly were, and that's why we created Tank Tune-Up. We created this holding tank treatment with a dual action formula that not only breaks down waste, but eliminates odors. Our formula doesn't have fillers or artificial fragrances that honestly sometimes make the odors worse. Tank Tune-Up is so easy to use, just simply scoop it, rinse it, and forget it. Whether you're hitting the road for a weekend getaway or living the full-time RV lifestyle, Tank Tune-Up makes odors a thing of the past. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to get yours today. And if you want to learn more about our product, check out our full video on it. So we would like to retract Jason's earlier statement.
Look, I was just regurgitating what I read somewhere.
I know. So this drive is a little intense. It's just steep. You're going through an active mine. There's workers and trucks and big machinery.
It's not the best maintained gravel road. It's not the worst.
Potholes,
it's definitely
rock slides, like big rocks on the road. Yeah, so we're definitely going to retract the statement that this is the most accessible glacier.
Yeah, if you want to see...
Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau is probably
or
the most...
if you're not making it to Juneau, Matanuska outside of Anchorage is also another easily viewable, accessible glacier.
It's funny, this drive like put a big strain on our girl here.
Yeah, so this is a 2012 Ram, and it has the 6.8 RFE transmission, which isn't as good as their newer ASIN. But that being said, it's been an amazing transmission for us. But we've found that it has one major issue that we run into, and it is going slow uphill. On most highways or most roads in general, it's not a problem. I just go faster, and I grew up in the mountains. I'm used to driving mountain roads a little bit faster, so it's not a big problem.
Right.
But we do run into it when we get stuck behind motorhomes or trucks that are just like not going fast enough.
Or mining equipment.
Yeah, or obviously a dirt off-road with a very steep road, we can't go fast. And so when we have to go slow
for a long period of time,
the torque converter doesn't lock up until third gear. So I have to get it up to speed where it gets into third gear. Otherwise, it just heats up, and it heats up fast.
So we watched it go from like 190 to 240 pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Of course, the way this glacier works, and this is like information from the milepost. And by the way, I reread like this section because Jason was like, well, double check it. Maybe I saw it in there. And the milepost does not say that this is like the most accessible glacier. I mean, it doesn't say like how wild this road is either. I mean, it kind of does. It says, you know, steep gravel road with potholes, possible road construction. So that was like the warning for it. It gives us like the mileage to the glacier from the border crossing. So we're currently 16 miles. So mile 16 it's called the toe viewpoint. Another 5.7 miles up the road is the Salmon Glacier summit viewpoint. So we kind of just decided we're not going to push her. She's back down to 199.
Yeah.
We'll give her a break, and I think we're just going to turn around at this viewpoint and go back.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of glaciers.
I know. I mean, getting 5 miles closer would be cool, but it's not worth like putting the extra strain on the truck, especially when we're in like the last leg of our trip.
Also, in case you're ever in a situation like this, where your transmission is heating in the Rams, they recommend for you to pull over, obviously, and put it in neutral, and then you can throw the emergency brake on and let it idle, and it'll bring it down. Because if you put it in park, I think the fluids don't continue to circulate. Yeah, so you want them to go through the cooling fan and the radiator, all that jazz to keep cooling down. And so I usually rev it just a little bit, and it seems to go down a little faster.
It's definitely the steepness that did our big gal in today.
But yeah, that's second gear for a very long time.
Yeah. Oh well, that's okay. We're gonna show you the Salmon Glacier while we idle and work our way down the mountain. Viewing the Salmon Glacier, we hit the road again and rejoin the Cassiar Highway. After about 200 miles of winding through remote wilderness, we found ourselves at the end of the highway and merged onto Highway 16. It wasn't long before we rolled into Smithers, where we settled in for the night at Riverside Municipal Campground. Alright guys, we are officially off the Cassiar Highway.
Yeah.
We did it. So the second half for us, which would just be the southern half, is much prettier.
Yeah.
So the drive goes by a little bit faster. It's not like when we first got on it, it's just felt like a slog because you're just looking at like kind of the same scenery over and over. And I think it's a little bit better maintained. Like you are starting to get lines painted on the road.
Yeah, it was less harrowing, I guess.
Yeah.
Once you get south of Stewart.
Yeah. I would say that the Stewart-Hyder like chute is worth it.
It's only like 60 kilometers off or something like that.
Yeah, it's really not that far out of the way. It's a unique little town. In my opinion, Stewart is like a better maintained, more of an actual town than Hyder. I have to admit, like there's so many of these towns up here that have been just fascinating to see like how people live, and then also like when you're on these border towns, like how dependent they are on Canada.
Yeah.
Because they're like the bigger one. They have more access to things and stuff like that. So it's just very interesting because we go back and forth so much on this drive. I keep forgetting like which country I'm in. So like I went to go pay for the campground yesterday and I grabbed cash and I'm like, oh wait, no, I need like Canadian dollars.
Yeah,
and
Canadian cash.
That's right, I'm in Canada.
Switching it out of my wallet between American cash and Canadian cash.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously they're very similar, but then there's just, some small differences. You're like, oh yeah, like we were walking through the grocery store and I'm like looking for something in particular and I'm like, oh yeah, that brand like doesn't sell in Canada.
Yeah, because it's still in a Safeway, right? So we've been to Safeways in both Canada and in
the
Alaska.
US. Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, we're looking for that one thing, but it's a different whatever. It's just so interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. Yeah, so we stopped at this little campground. So we were only here for one night, but it was perfect for us because we got to charge the batteries, turn on the dehumidifier. I flushed the tanks today. We filled up fresh water. So now, are we going to try and find propane today?
Maybe.
Yeah, we really haven't filled up the propane. We were talking about this the other day, like in a long time.
Yeah, since Homer.
Yeah. So we were filling it up. It felt like a little more frequently in the beginning of the trip.
Every 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, but I think that's because we were using the heater and we were running the generator more. And so we haven't needed to run the generator as much, and we haven't ran the heater in a month. It's been a while, so we realized those are the two big sucks on our propane. So we're also going to find laundry, but I'd say if you're passing through, this is a great little stop in Smithers.
The first big town for us since, I don't know, way up there.
I don't even know.
Like Whitehorse, I guess, on this drive.
Yeah.
Since Whitehorse, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And by big town, we mean like has a grocery store, has a laundromat, has a... Do they have a car wash?
Yeah, they got a car wash. They have a McDonald's.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like one of those indicators of, and like when I think of like a town, like something that has services, is if they can have a fast food restaurant. I think up here A&W is
a big one, yeah.
Yeah, so like if they have an A&W, it's like a big town,
right.
And so you feel like there's enough people here.
Yeah, so we're gonna find a laundromat today. We haven't done laundry in 2 weeks, and that is like absolutely our max. Like we've realized once a week is the sweet spot, but we've been going through so many little towns that we haven't found any. So yeah, it's way long overdue for some cleaning. It feels surreal to officially be done with our Alaska adventures, but the journey's far from over. Make sure to subscribe as we make our way back to the United States.